In a world where clans clash, witches wander the earth, and golems stir, there is one clasher that will rise above the rest. That clasher is me. Hey, what's up guys, Landon here, and welcome to the Halloween Clash of Clans special. So today guys, I got some spooky raids with some spooky troops, and we're going to be reading some ghost stories, so let's see how this goes. Dun dun dun. Axe Murder Hollow. Susan and Ned were driving through a wooded empty section of highway. Lightning flashed, thunder roared, the sky went dark, and the torrential downpour. "We'd better stop," said Susan. Ned nodded his head in agreement. He stepped on the brake, and suddenly the car started to slide on the slick pavement. They plunged off the road and slid to a halt at the bottom of an incline. Pale and shaking, Ned turned quickly to see if Susan was all right. When she nodded, Ned relaxed and looked through the rain-soaked window. "I'm going to see how bad it is," he told Susan. And when out in the storm, she saw his blurry figure in the headlight, walking around the front of the car. A moment later, he jumped in beside her, soaking wet. "The car's not badly damaged, but we're wheel-deep in mud," he said. "I'm going to have to go for help." Susan swallowed nervously. There would be no quick rescue here. He told her to turn off the headlights and lock the doors until he returned. Axe Murder Hollow. Although Ned hadn't said the name aloud, they both knew what he had been thinking when he told her to lock the car. This was the place where a man had once taken an axe and hacked his wife to death in a jealous rage over an alleged affair. Supposedly, the axe-wielding spirit of the husband continued to haunt this section of the road. Outside the car, Susan heard a shriek, a loud thump, and a strange gurgling noise. But she couldn't see anything in the darkness. Frightened, she sank down in a seat. She sat in silence for a while, and then noticed another sound. It was a soft sound, like something being blown by the wind. Suddenly the car was illuminated by a bright light. An official-sounding voice told her to get out of the car. Ned must have found a police officer. Susan unlocked the door and stepped out of the car. As her eyes adjusted to the bright light, she saw it. Hanging by his feet from the tree next to the car was the dead body of Ned. His bloody throat had been cut so deeply that he was nearly decapitated. The wind swung his corpse back and forth so that it thumped against the tree. Susan screamed and ran towards the voice in the light. As she drew close, she realized that the light was not coming from a flashlight. Standing there was the glowing figure of a man with a smile on his face and a large, solid, and definitely real axe in his hand. She backed away from the glowing figure until she bumped into the car. playing around when my back was turned, the ghost whispered, stroking the sharp blade of the axe with his fingers. You have been very naughty. The last thing she saw was the glint of an axe blade in the eerie, incandescent night. Hatchet Man. There were warnings all over campus about a hatchet man who had supposedly abused and killed a woman in Bloomington. All the girls were warned to walk in pairs and to stay in brightly lit areas if they were to go out at night. The sophomore and her roommate were staying in the empty dorm over Thanksgiving break. Since both their families were out of the country, they'd grown very bored as day followed boring day and night followed boring night, tired of staying inside every night for fear of the hatchet man. Our roommate suggested that they have dinner at the local bar, and the sophomore agreed. The two women had lingered longer than they had anticipated, and it was almost midnight when the sophomore, more than a little drunk, decided to walk back to the door. Her roommate was busy flirting with the bartender, so she headed into the dark, silent streets alone. The sophomore had forgotten all about the hatchet man warning. It wasn't until she took a shortcut through a dark, creepy alley that she remembered there was a desperate murderer on the loose. The sophomore shivered, feeling suddenly sober and very much alone. She felt as if the hostile eyes were peering out at her from every menacing shadow and darkened doorway. She quickened her pace. Was that heavy breathing she heard behind her? Were those footsteps walking in time with the road? The sophomore broke into a run, heart pounding fiercely, sure that something was following behind her. She darted onto the campus, zigzagged through the buildings, and flung herself panting onto the dorm. She pounded up 3 flights of stairs, down the hall, and slammed into her room, locking the door behind her. It was only then, leaning against the door with her heart racing, that she started to feel foolish. There was no sound from the hallway, no footsteps, no heavy breathing, no hatchet breaking through the wood of the door. She'd been a fool. The sophomore staggering to the bathroom to wash up for the night, leaving the door locked behind her. She kept glancing in the mirror to make sure that everything was secure. The scene in the mirror was normal, and there was no sound in the empty dormitory. Everything was fine, she told herself. Then she remembered that her roommate was still at the bar. She didn't want her roommate to walk home alone, so she called the bar and asked the manager if he would arrange for the roommate to be brought home in a taxi. The music in the background was loud, and she wasn't sure if the manager understood her request, but at least she tried. The sophomore curled up in bed with the reading lamp on, determined to wait up for her roommate. But the combination of heavy drinking and her earlier fright sent her onto a deep sleep almost at once, and she did not awaken until the sun came pouring onto the window early the next morning. She woke from a hangover and rolled over, trying not to be sick in bed. When she looked across the room, she realized that her roommate wasn't in the bed on the far wall. In fact, it looks as if her bed had not been slept in at all. She rolled to her feet, heart pounding with dread. Maybe her roommate had spent the night in the lobby. Her roommate had done that once before when partying until the wee hours in the morning, saying it was too much trouble to come up 3 flights of stairs. With trembling hands, the sophomore unlocked the door and wrenched it open in search of her roommate. The unmistakable, faintly metallic scent of blood smashed onto her nostrils as the door swung open. That was her only warning before her shocked eyes saw blood splattered all over the walls and floor of the 3rd floor hallway. She screamed in terror, leaping backwards from the partially decapitated body of her roommate, which lay dead at her feet. Her throat was slit from end to end, and blood pooled under her dead body. The nails on her outstretched hand were torn and splintered, where they had scratched desperately at the wooden door. A black shadow lay across the roommate's body. She looked up in a daze, her gaze following the black shadow to its source. Embedded in the window frame near the entrance to the staircase was a blood-stained hatchet, outlined in the light of the rising sun. Boo! Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed. That was the Halloween special. I'm freaking spooked out right now. Hope you guys enjoyed, and hopefully it wasn't too scary, and actually, I hope you guys got a little bit of a scare out of that. That was pretty fun. So thank you guys so much for watching / listening. If you enjoyed, make sure to smack that like button, and also blah blah blah, subscribe and everything else. Thank you guys again. See you all later. Bye bye.